দেখাচ্ছে।
Now, please go ahead. After that, you can mute the YouTube.
Okay. So good morning, all students. So I hope you all.
Please go ahead. After that, you can mute the YouTube.
Okay. So good morning, all students. So I hope you all.
Please go ahead. After that, you can mute the YouTube.
Okay. No, but I can't see.
Good morning, all students.
Repeating.
So I hope
there is a
you
problem.
all. Please go ahead. After that, you can mute the YouTube. Okay.
No, but I can't see.
Good morning, all students.
Hello. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing anything on my screen. I hope that.
Sir, please refresh your YouTube link.
YouTube is okay.
Okay.
But the Zoom link. I'm not seeing anything. Can I stop and start again?
No, sir. Actually, please find in your right hand in your screen. There is a small window.
No, for doing what? No, I mean, am I being streamed? Because
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
then
sir.
it's fine. No, this is okay.
Okay.
So like if the streaming is going on fine, then it is okay. Okay, so sorry everyone. There was some technical confusion that I had. So all the students of the course on Introduction to Internet of Things, I hope now that we are coming very close to the end of the semester, I hope that you all are able to get an essence of what are the most important things in Internet of Things. So remember once again what I told you earlier as well during the earlier session, that this is an introductory level course. Even though it is introductory, we took the opportunity to cover in breadth of some of the topics, as well as a little bit of depth wherever it was required. But mostly, it is the intent of this course is to give you an exposition of what is out there, what is Internet of Things, and what are the different types of protocols, what are the different applications, etc. So by now, I hope that you have been able to get a fair understanding of what IoT is all about. And I see that some of you have also written some questions in the Google Doc seeking clarification on some of these things. If you also have any further questions, you could ask. So there was a question about the list of companies providing job for IoT developer, right? So I will start with that. So this it's this is something that you will have to search and you'll have to find out, right? It's a job hunting kind of activity. And but let me tell you that the opportunities in IoT is enormous, right? So there are so many companies which have so many companies which have come up with IoT based products, so if you go through some kind of so you just have to search, right? You have to search and you have to find out the different companies which are requiring jobs on IoT. So it also includes IoT development, right? So so includes all the programming as well as the system development, firmware development, etc. So all of these are all there. So this is one. So I'll just give you an update, like so for list of companies means like different companies like Samsung, right? So Samsung, then we have Cisco, then we have So then we have a lot of different companies, right? So yeah, almost like everyone is into this space of IoT development. So there are a few other questions also which I'm going to come later. There is another question about the precision agriculture. So precision agriculture basically, so what you, as the name suggests, right? So you want to use certain technologies like, ICT technologies, including IoT, in order to offer different, so different services, right? So different agricultural services to farmers and carry on with, uh, carry on with the different activities, right? Um, and so I'll just give you an example. It is also there in some recorded video that in the agricultural. So we have one project with the agriculture department, and so where we have deployed, IoT for precision agriculture, right? Um, uh, we have done that. We have certain systems which are live, which are deployed. AgriSense is one such system which is there. So IoT is used for not only sensing but also, like, use of drones, etc., to do a number of different things. For example, spraying fertilizers or spraying pesticides, etc., precisely in the field, within the field boundaries of the farmer. Like that, so things are enormous. We have large number of different types of projects which are also there. For example, we had with ICAR, Indian Council for Agricultural Research. It was founded by them, and along with Indian Agricultural Research Institute, we developed something called the planter, right? So robotic planter. So robotic planter, what it does is that precisely, it's a robot, right? It's an autonomous robot which will go and plant seeds at as per the way it is programmed. So like that, for irrigation, for fertilization, for so many different things, so precision agriculture, IoT is being used. So let me look at other questions that you have. So yeah, so mostly I think, so the questions that were asked before, that was that. And now few other questions also. Um, so so which programming language is most suitable for IoT? Somebody wrote in YouTube chat box. So which programming language is most suitable for IoT? So I think this is something that you should be able to answer now, right? Um, so there is nothing called most suitable for IoT. There is nothing called a programming language for IoT. There are so many different programming languages that one can use. So it is difficult to say that for all circumstances you have, for all different types of scenarios, you have one or the best programming language. It is not, you cannot say like that. So so there are so many different things, right? So if you have some kind of ML-based, IoT platforms that you want to develop, for example, not only sensing but also analytics, etc. So Python or R, these are good, right? For sensing, and then some level of processing on site. So there is this Raspberry Pi, Arduino, etc. So these platforms are there. So correspondingly, you need to use the corresponding programming language, right? So so for example, for Arduino, we have the C-based language that is used for the Arduino IDE. So similarly, for something called the NodeMCU, which you might be knowing by now, so Python is used, right? So like that, C or C kind of language for Arduino, and then for NodeMCU, you have the Python. So like that, so many different languages. It's not like one language serves all purposes. So for the analytics, etc., Python or R or a combination, right? because analytics is also an integral part of IoT systems, right? In most cases, it's not just sensing, then you have to make sense out of it. So for mobile applications, so for example, most of the IoT platforms, you need to project so you need to project the data, or the data should be made accessible to the end users. In most of the cases, the requirement is that the end users are going to have some kind of a handheld platforms like mobile phone, etc., right? Smartphone. So for that, Android programming is very important. Then there is something called Flutter, etc. So you should so there is no rule of thumb, so you should explore everything, and there are so many different things. So you see, when you want to build the IoT stack, right, so there are so many different protocols that are there in the IoT stack, and so you need a combination of different platforms, IDEs, systems, etc., so which will work. So what I named just now is only a few, but like this, actually there are so many others that are also available nowadays to so if you so for some people, often the question is that so if I want to minimize so some IoT developers, so they often say that if I want to reduce the amount of coding, so what should be the platform? So for that, you have Blink. So Blink is a platform, BLYNK, which is good, so because you have a lot of you can reduce the amount of coding that can be done, that will be required to be done. If you are using Arduino Raspberry, so I already told you there are so many different options that you have. So another question is that how to start your own business in IoT. Can you give some idea? This is a very good question, in the sense that so IoT is currently very hot, and not only that, so there are so many different opportunities that are there in IoT. So a lot of startups are there as part of initiatives like Startup India. The government is pushing a lot for startups, and also many of the startups are basically IoT centric. They have, so the beauty of about IoT is that you do not need to invest a lot upfront, right? So IoT devices are very cheap. These are not too expensive like other lines of business, and you do not need a lot of investment. You need some creative idea, and you need you just, what you need to do is to identify, so where is the market gap. Identification of the market gap is very important. So what could possibly be what all a problem, basically a problem, or some kind of a market gap that exists, and then how it can be solved. So think about it. So for starting your own business, think about the so where is the market gap, right? So can you think about, so depending on your area of interest, whether it is agriculture, whether it is healthcare, whether it is mining, or depending on your interest. So first you think about what is your area of interest, right? Application domain of interest. Then you think about what is already available, and where is the gap in the market, which means that you will have to question that is there some area where you could come up with some kind of a solution, right? Yeah, so and the solution doesn't exist, right? So you want to propose a new solution. So this could be one. So proposing a new solution. So once you have understood that what would be the new solution, then you start developing the prototype. And so as you progress, you start contacting the government agencies. You need also, for business, you need some kind of funding, right? So either you could self-fund, or so you could seek some funding from different, there are so many different agencies that are there, which can fund startups, right? And particularly in terms of giving loans and soft loans, there are plenty of options that you have. Look also at Startup India initiatives, right? You will find a lot of resources, not only Startup India, but there are also a lot of resources that you can explore. I hope that that answers your question about business. Yeah, so the main thing over here, as I said, is that you have to identify. You have to identify that what is the necessity which is not there, which can be solved. The other possibility is that you already, let us say that, so already 10 companies are developing some product. You be the 11th one which develops the same thing. Then you come up with some features maybe which others are not offering. So in a tabular way or some way, you compare the different features of the same product, and then you identify what is not being offered, and you try to offer that. Through your product, you try to offer that feature. Okay. So yeah, so I think that should answer what you tried to ask. Somebody is saying that can you emphasize more on how we can make smart home more feasible? So what I'm not sure is what you mean by being more feasible. So smart home basically refers to controlling the devices, appliances, or systems in our homes connected to some common network, right, independently and remotely. You can put these IoT devices like NodeMCU or Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, etc., to control the lights, the fans, and this is being done. This is, so what I told you just now, this is already there, right? So this is already there. You can control a lot of electrical appliances at your home, and this is already there. And so even there was a startup in IIT Kharagpur, which a couple of years back, I mean about 5-6 years or even more back, who developed this kind of IoT based system for controlling the electrical appliances at home. See, when you talk about smart home, it is not one thing or one system, right? You have a lot of different possibilities. One is the electrical controls that I was telling you, like this, so for the comfort, so you have so many different things that could be done at your home. So like that, so you have to think about what you exactly want to target in the smart home application. So you can use relays, right, to switch on or off of appliances. So you can design a web page which can switch the electrical appliances on or off. You can use you can use different other things for remotely controlling the different devices, etc. So basically, so I remember long back there was somebody who talked about an application, interesting application, which I think is not so easy to develop, but it would be nice to know. So let us say that so somebody there are elderly people at home, right? So one possibility is that elderly care. So I just remembered about it. Elderly care is something that many people are doing. So what happens is if an elderly person who do not have any caregiver at home falls down, because fall is a very common problem among elderly people. So slip and fall or any kind of fall, right? So so if the elderly person falls down, then there will be some kind of an alarm, and that alarm or alert message could be sent to the caregiver who may not be present at home at that time. Likewise, there are other sorts of things like so elderly people, they have mobility problems. So you could develop a system which would help in doing a lot of things that the elderly people can do by by remaining seated or while they are sleeping, right? So for example, let us say that turning on the microwave oven for heating up something, or even you could use some kind of a robotic mechanism by which certain activities could be coordinated remotely, right? For example, the opening of the door of the refrigerator, taking out some item from the refrigerator, then putting them in the microwave oven for heating up, etc. So like that, you can think creatively about the different uh, different activities, the different systems that could be developed. So let me tell you that smart home is a reality already, right? So people have developed and people are using smart home, IoT based smart home applications, right? So it is already a reality. I mean, in fact, IoT is no longer something that is imaginary. So IoT is something where a lot of work, a lot of emphasis has already been given. People have developed a lot of stuff, and so there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of startup companies, not only startup companies but also well-established companies. They have opened they have opened their wings for IoT development, IoT product development. So I myself, I had visited Cisco. Samsung, I know, is very active in IoT. Then you have so many different companies which are GE, for example. GE is also very active. Like that, so many different other companies are also there. So which are very active in the business of IoT. So there is a question about main problem we face to try and test IoT applications is that we don't have Raspberry Pi and other IoT hardware. So this is an interesting thing. It's a proposal for a virtual lab on IoT. This is interesting, but let me also tell you that from a learning point of view, to some extent only, so this can work, that creating a virtual lab. But then again, you will have to simulate or animate a lot of stuff. Having a virtual lab, because I myself, as many of you probably know, I have developed the advanced network technologies virtual lab, right, as per the Sakshat Virtual Labs initiative of the government of India. And it is a very popular virtual lab, but that basically caters to most of the general networking problems, not specific to IoT, because when it was developed those days, IoT was not at all popular. So then, so similar kind of thing could be extended for doing for IoT as well. So the question is that IoT is such a stuff which is very hands-on, right? And IoT, IoT devices, IoT hardware, these are very commonly very much accessible. So there is no point of thinking about replacing the IoT hardware, which is very accessible, with some kind of an animation or simulation, right? So that doesn't help the learning much, because ultimately what you want to do is you want to create real stuff. So if the real stuff is readily available and is not so expensive, then I would rather suggest that one should go for actually procuring IoT hardware like all these Arduinos, Raspberries, etc., and try to build stuff which are real, right? But if still you want to develop a virtual lab for one reason or other, there are a couple of different options that you can explore. Or if you really want to learn from a virtual lab, there are a couple of different options that you can explore. For example, Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi, it has its own virtual environment with basically something called Raspbian running on its OS. And you can download the image, Raspberry Pi desktop, and then use VirtualBox for running it. So you have to make sure that you should bridge your network with the parent operating system, so that you can facilitate and emulate the real development scenarios. So like this, so a lot of stuff could be done, but the question is that why do you need it, right? So if these are so much readily available, then you should rather go for building stuff yourself, and so that basically gives you a real kind of experience with developing developing IoT based systems. And so even if you cannot afford to go for, let us say, Arduino, etc., so there are alternatives like NodeMCU, which is very cheap, some couple of $100, right? So to $300, so you get a NodeMCU. So NodeMCU has a lot of capabilities, like it has Wi-Fi, and it can create access points. You can build mesh networks with NodeMCU. So so NodeMCU is very popular nowadays because of this reason, right? So you should definitely think why you want to build, or why do you want to access get access to some kind of a virtual lab for learning IoT, because this is not very well motivated for it. So so there are NodeMCU also supports Python nowadays, but so there are so many different other options that are also possible with NodeMCU like that. So you should explore it, because these are very cheap. I mean, there is no point in trying to build a virtual lab on IoT, and then uh, you know uh, then you learn virtually, but actually you will have to develop stuff yourself. So there is no point in doing that. Okay, so let us move on to the next question. um, yeah, so I'm just trying to think. The question is that please provide some practical demonstration for MQTT protocol, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, and some other protocols used in IoT. I do not know actually. I mean, so the motive behind doing it, so what is a practical demo, right? So practical, see, the thing is that MQTT, so many of these protocols, right? Like the ones you need to, so you need to there are two aspects, right? So one is that you need to know how the protocol works, which you have, through the course, through the lectures, you have been exposed to the purpose of the protocol, then how it works at the introductory level, because this is an introductory course. So you have already learned that, and so this is one. Second thing is that why do you want to so what sort of demo, right? So this is not very clear to me yet, right? So what sort of demo? So there are a lot of examples that have been already given in the course. So for example, for MQTT, there are there, as you already know by now, that you can use public Docker, right? Like Hive MQ, etc. Then HiveMQ is basically for publishing and subscribing to the data. So there is something which probably I did not tell you in the course, but just for your information, there is something called the MQTT Dash, right? Which is basically the app that is available in Google Play Store. So you could download from the Play Store, to create dashboards of your own utilizing MQTT. And so you can create smart home applications also. Somebody was asking before about smart home. So you can create smart home applications for controlling different devices, electrical devices like fans, lights, etc., which I also told you. So like that, actually, you if you are interested, this is the only type of demo that I can think of. So if you are interested, you should do this. So main purpose of this course is not, see, there are so many different software, these, that, etc. These are available, right? So the purpose of this course is not to teach you different software, etc. You like MQTT Dash, there are so many other similar kind of options that are available, right? So the purpose is not to teach you that. The purpose is to make you aware of what are the functionalities of a particular protocol, and so little bit of insight into how things work with that particular protocol, and then making it available to you, so that you can try out different options. So that is the whole purpose of this course. So here we are not going to make you kind of somebody who wants to play around with different types of software, right? So these things you will have to do on your own. Once you have learned the basics, you should be able to do these things on your own, right? So mm, so yeah, so like this, actually, I mean, see, Bluetooth, for example, as you know, that you can do a lot of file transfer, right? So there are so many online tutorials that are there for use of Bluetooth for file transfer. So from one phone to another, right? So you can do yourself, right? You can do yourself for transferring day-to-day files to transfer from one phone to another. This actually, I mean, this many people are doing, right? So so like that you should be able to do. I mean, what other demo we can think of? There is no other demo, right? So this is something that you will have to try. You know, so like this, you know, you can even use apps like Share It, Sender, XENDER, basically the spelling is XENDER. And these are apps that use Bluetooth. They also permit the use of Wi-Fi. So basically, you know, so there are these protocols like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, you know, so these are the underlying protocols that are used over there. So like this, you know, you can use, you can create your own Bluetooth modules. You can connect to different devices like Arduino, Uno, etc. for transferring data. Same thing goes for Zigbee as well, right? So you just, you know, so these are the things that you will have to do. I mean, no course will teach you these things, right? So this basically, you know, these are the things that you will have to play around. Once you have learned the essence, you know, so there are so many different tutorials that are also there if you are really interested, you know, so there are so many online tutorials that are there. So once you have learned the essence, what is inside, you know, these are the things that you will have to do on your own. Then internship after completion of the course. Um, Please provide guidance on how I can get internship in your guidance. So yeah, so if somebody is interested in internship, let me give you a couple of options, right? So this time, you know, so I will tell you both, at least 2 times in the year, in the winter as well as in the summer, I take interns, right? I take interns, and there are a lot of NPTEL good students that have done internships with me in the past, right? That I do. I mean, there are two possibilities. One is that through NPTEL actually, you know, you should contact NPTEL, and they normally, you know, so they come up with some proposals about some students who wants to do internship with me, and it will be routed through them. And the other possibility is that you can, you know, you can directly contact me for internship. So this time, actually, this winter, I myself, I am not taking any interns for my Swan lab because of the logistic reasons. But just for your information, that you know, there is a company which some of my students own. The startup company, which is basically IoT development company. It is called Sensor Drops Networks. So the website is sensordropsnetworks.com. This particular company, you know, it develops different types of IoT based products, right? So if you are interested, this company is looking for interns for the winter. I myself, I am not looking for interns this semester, this winter. So if you are interested, you feel free to either contact me, or you can directly contact Sensor Drops Networks. If you contact me, what I will do is I will not process it any further. I will simply forward it to Sensor Drops for, if in case they are interested to take your internship application further. So I hope that you know, so what you can do is that so we will so you please send me an email, right? So those of you who are interested, I will then give you the contact information of Sensor Drops, right? So then Sensor Drops is actively looking for interns right now. The only thing is that, you know, your interest, you know, your commitment, your interest should be there. And as far as I know, but again, you know, so they are the ones who you have to finally contact. I am not the one. I'm just giving you some information based on my based on the knowledge that I already have by talking to them. So if you are interested, just feel free to send an email to me immediately thereafter, because already the hiring has been done in phase 1, and there is one more phase of hiring that is going to happen very soon. So if you are interested, please send me an email, and then we will I will just forward your application to the concerned person in Sensor Drops. Yeah, so somebody asked about application of IoT in the space sector. So so in the space sector, lot of use of IoT is already there, right? So spacecrafts basically nowadays, they use a lot of different sensors, even for landing, etc., right? So when the spacecraft lands on the foreign planet, or whatever foreign body, I mean the celestial body, so at that time also there is a lot of use of sensors. Not only sensors, nowadays you can think of the use of connected sensors, so basically network sensors, which can help you to do it. Another interesting application is basically, terrestrial IoT, connecting terrestrial IoT with the satellites, right? So LEO satellites, etc. These are, how you can, so satellite to IoT system communication, right? This actually, it's a research topic, and there is not much you will be able to get beyond the research papers on this topic right now. So there are a lot of options for doing this. Mostly it is all in the research stages now. Maybe, who knows, give another 10 years, you will have some systems in place which could be made available for making these concepts a reality. So so essentially, what you can do is, to start with, just just as a starter, you can try to achieve something called LP WAN, right? So so low power WAN, right? So LP WAN, right? So you can try to create low power WAN in space. So but then how you will do it on ground, that I do not know. So this is basically a completely different domain, space, etc. But I mean, just logically, so an LP WAN can be created in space, and this LP WAN would require less bandwidth, then less power consumption. Then it has to have the ability to provide the number of, scaling up the number of connections, so basically increasing the number of connections. So these are all like, conceptual stuff right now, because as you know, anything to do with space, these are all costly, and the deployment is an issue, maintenance is an issue. Also, I would like to mention something else here, that the upcoming 5G, 6G communication technologies, right? They offer high frequencies and high data rate. So particularly using the higher gigahertz and terahertz band, right? So the transmission range basically increases significantly, and so in such scenarios, basically maintaining communication is a challenge. So satellites can be used, as I said before. Also, the satellites can be used to help in the communication, to overcome the communication voids that are created. So there is a lot of work in the research literature right nowadays that proposes the use of IoT networks with satellite, as I was telling you, some kind of an integration of IoT networks and satellite. So these should be kept in mind, that so there are lots of possibilities, but communication with satellites is expensive in terms of the delay, because even, like, forget about IoT is so much constrained, right? So even if you are talking about simple devices, right? So satellite communication is highly latency prone, right? So because even a single pulse, right, from the ground surface to the surface of the planet, right, to the satellite, and from the satellite to back to the ground, right? So this basically, so even a single pulse takes a couple of seconds, right? So it's highly latency sensitive because of the distance, right? So propagation delay is quite high. So this is one. And secondly, I mean, overall, even like the satellite phones, etc., as you know, these are very costly, right? So overall, there is a lot of scope right now, uh, but the thing is that mm, I mean, the options are there. People are exploring, and I'm sure that in a couple of years, probably we'll have some solutions in the market. Even somebody was asking about entrepreneurship, right? So you can think about, so getting into this particular sphere, because not much work, real systems are available at this point. So terrestrial IoT with satellite, right? So think about, how things can be done, and whether there is some business benefit that you are going to get. So what sort of investment will be required? So like that, you have to think. Right. Um, so basically, so there is a question, like, regarding concerning the internship, what I told you. So I think from that somebody had asked, so how the profile of the interns will be shortlisted. So that basically, so I'm not going to get into it, right? So if you are an EG student or a PG student or research scholar or a faculty, so just, if you are interested, just drop me an email with your CV, and I'm going to forward it to SDN, so Sensor Drops Networks, the company that I mentioned, and they are the ones who are going to decide, right? So I am not going to get in between this particular thing, right? So they are the ones who are going to give you a certificate at the end, but it is not, it is going to be an unpaid internship. Let me also tell you, as far as I know, Sensor Drops doesn't pay anybody for, neither do they charge anybody for doing internship, neither do they charge nor do they pay. But again, so these are things that you will have to seek clarification from SDN directly. I'm just giving you some information based on the knowledge that I have. So so send me the email, and I will forward your email to the concerned person in Sensor Drops. I am also not aware of the shortlisting criteria. What you can do at this point is visit the website www.sensordrops.com altogether. Sensor Drops, Sensor Drops, okay, not drop. So www.sensordrops.com. So you visit their website and you would be able to get certain insight about the kind of stuff they are into, the kind of business they are into. Okay. So it is going to be kind of a company internship for you if you are interested. So yeah, I think, so it is not required actually to be discussed over here. But since you have asked, so somebody is asking about serial communication protocols like SPI, I2C, UART, CAN, etc. So I think, so you should be at this point, you should be at a point that you yourself should be able to explore. You see, why just these, right? So there are so many different other protocols that are also there, right? So we do not need to learn each and one of them, right? So you need to, I don't need to teach you all of these, right? So you should be comfortable by now to explore things on your own. As a teacher of this course, what I have done is I have simply given you the basic knowledge that is required for you to explore further, right? So I cannot feed you with each and every knowledge. So just because you have asked, so let me just tell you that SPI and I2C, these are some serial communication protocols. There are different forms of, these are different forms of serial communication protocols, right? So SPI, the full form is, if I recall, serial peripheral interface, right? So serial peripheral interface. So it allows for a single master device with a maximum of 4 slave devices. It includes 4 lines. So if I remember correctly, it is 4 lines. So MISO, MOSI, then you have, if I remember, SCK and CS, etc. So these are things that SCK is for clocking, right? So SCK is for clocking. Then you have CS for control, etc. So like that, so these are things that you will have to explore. So I cannot really, tell you more than what I have just told you just now, right? So these are some of these serial communication protocols, and what I told you, this is what you will have to explore. So you can even achieve a speed of up to about 10 Mbps, right? So using these serial communication protocols. So I2C, the next one that you have mentioned, again, so again, the same thing that I said, you have to explore yourself. I2C is a very commonly used protocol. It is called integrated circuit, I2C, inter-integrated circuit, right? So it involves multiple masters and slaves. It includes 2 lines, SCK and SCL. It allows up to 100 kbps speed, unlike the previous one, which offers about 10 Mbps. So 100 kbps speed. So basically, as you can understand, right? So SCI is offering you about 10 Mbps. Sorry, SPI is offering you 10 Mbps speed, and this guy, I2C offers 100 kbps speed. So obviously, who is faster? SPI is faster, right? So so it is faster. SPI is faster than I2C. Since each device requires a unique address where, and so there are the clock and data lines which are shared between the different devices in I2C. So like that, so you have to, so explore these on your own. So UART is another thing that you asked. So UART full form is Universal Asynchronous Reception and Transmission. It supports bidirectional asynchronous and serial data transmission. So basically, there is a transmit line, so two data lines, right? One is for transmit, the other one is for receive, TX-RX, and these can be found mostly in Arduino-based devices or NodeMCUs, Raspberry Pis, etc. UART. So CAN is controller area network. So basically forming a controller area network. So it is a secure and fast serial communication protocol. So here also you can achieve a speed of about 1 Mbps, so megabits per second. Actually here it is megabits per second, so 1 Mbps speed you can get. So like this, actually these are the things that so you'll have to explore yourself. So don't ask me things like this, because so this is beyond what we have covered in the course. So so again, space, then somebody is asking about defense, right? So see, these are the things that you will have to explore, right? So if somebody is asking about space, somebody about defense, like that, actually there are so many different options that are there. So since you have asked again, so let me tell you. So defense, lot of applications are there, right? So I myself, I will tell you, I will not name the agency, but I myself have consulted for one of our defense forces for surveilling the border areas between two countries, right? So in defense also you have a lot of applications of IoT, you have a lot of applications of so all these sensors, connected sensors, etc. You have drones, drones, all kinds of drones, right? And even the network of drones, these are very attractive for IoT. So these are all attractive for defense as well, right? So you have a lot of different wearable soldiers. They are going to wear a lot of different sensors. These sensors, they can do number of different stuff. For example, monitoring the health condition of the of the soldiers themselves remotely. This could be done. So you have the soldiers who are wearing different physiological wearable sensors, and these sensors, they can periodically, they can or continuously, they can monitor the health condition of the soldier who is actually in the mission. So remotely these could be taken care of. So like that, actually, so a lot of different applications are there. Of use of IoT in the defense sector, right? So even the mental health. So as you know, so many soldiers in the past, as you probably know, that they have lost their lives because of the mental conditions, right? So monitoring the soldiers, not only physical health but also the mental health, identifying the enemy. This is also possible with the help of this kind of IoT based thing. Smart surveillance. You can use drones connected with different cameras, different other sensors to have surveillance. So even these drones could be made stealth type. So which means that even if the drones, they fly, the enemy is not going to be able to understand the flying of the drones, etc. So so like this, actually there are so many different things. We are basically coming very close to the end of this particular session. Again, very quickly, somebody has asked about the security protocols. I already told you some security protocols in the class, right? So not only MQTT, there is something called SMQTT, secure message query telemetry support. MQTT is basically message query telemetry support. So you have the SMQTT, which is for secure message query telemetry transport, not support, transport, right? So like that, so many different other security protocols are there. You can use attribute-based encryption, which is very commonly used. So it can be used in the session layer. So like that, so there are so many different other options. Attribute-based encryption could be used. So these are some of these different security. Actually, I will tell you that security we did not cover in the course intentionally. Security as such, although SMQTT I mentioned, but security I did not mention in the course. The reason being that security is you need to have a different type of background to understand security protocols, right? So unless you have that background, because this is an introductory course, so we try to avoid any kind of discussion on the security aspects. So I think we are coming to an end now. So let me see if there is any other, so somebody asked about research areas in IoT. Plenty of research areas are there. You can explore interoperability is one such thing, interoperability, heterogeneity and interoperability. So you can, this is a very good area of research. Resource allocation is also another one. Fog integration, cloud. I mean, so you see, for our lab, if you follow our research papers from the Swan lab, which have been produced under my supervision, so you'll be able to get a lot of idea about all of these things, right? So resource allocation, we have done a lot of work. Interoperability, use of fog computing, cloud computing, different routing protocols, different other protocols, etc. Like that, there are so many different options. I'll just take one more question and we'll bring it to an end. So this is basically, somebody has asked about ML and DL algorithms, right? So processing ML and DL algorithms locally on IoT devices. So basically, this is a challenge, definitely. So not all devices are powerful enough to execute these ML algorithms. So because these ML algorithms, DL algorithms, they are often very much resource consuming, which these IoT devices they cannot process to a lot of extent. So Raspberry Pi 2 can do to some extent, but not again completely. So you need to have some kind of an integration with some kind of another edge device, or some cloud platforms or something like that. Some kind of integration like that has to happen. Okay, so I hope that a lot of your things I have a lot of your queries I have been able to address. We will have one more session and later on, and then very shortly I will try to schedule that other session also. And if there are some other questions from today, so I will try to respond to it over there. And also, you please feel free to use the discussion forum, continue to use it to seek clarifications on any other question that you have. But don't keep it completely open-ended. Like, what I found today is many of the questions were very open-ended, and that makes it difficult for me to respond, right? So, ask specific, if you have any specific query pertaining to the syllabus of the course, don't, so you can ask, right? So no harm in asking questions, right? So that is perfectly fine. But the thing is that, it is better because, everything is very time constrained. It is better to stick to the specific queries that you have pertaining to the syllabus that is followed, right? So that makes it more effective for me to respond to your questions, and also for you to assimilate beyond what you have learned, specific to the syllabus, again, specific to the syllabus, right? So that's all for now. So we have already run out of time, and so thank you very much. Hope to see you in the next session. So thank you and all the best.